Today, we're looking at Noodler's Midnight Blue. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Noodler's Midnight Blue is a blue-black ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples, I put the ink into a different pen for a day, I then put it into a Levenger True Writer to take my notes for this video. Now, before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography. And I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And what we see is it's a blue-black that has been made with purple, which is the first color that pushes up. We see the grays, which are the black tones, and then a nice dark blue across the top. Now the one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And the line across the bottom is a very dark and there blue line. Now we still see those purples pushing their way up. We see the same blacks, the same dark blues. But the ink does not travel nearly as far up the page. With only 10 minutes to get settled in there, makes me feel like there can be some serious permanence. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pens. Now I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handles it very well. That extra fine stays an extra fine. It's nice, it doesn't blow out, it makes it very safe to take notes with. Water, surprisingly, based on how the chromatography went. When I was doing a chromatography, I thought there was going to be some real permanence to this ink. But water is reactivating it enough that on the lower edge of that water, with only 30 seconds on the page, I am starting to see some of the white of the paper. Now, if for some reason that wasn't enough, because I really do think the water is going to be enough to get it out of your pen, Pen Flush did everything water did and just a little bit more. We see more of the white of the paper come through. And again, it's only 30 seconds for this being on the paper. Bleach, as would be expected, obliterates it, but there's no need to use bleach to get this out of your pen. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Noodler's Midnight Blue has a viscosity of 2.51, making it normal and almost average. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper with the extra fine and medium nib. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Noodler's Midnight Blue has an average dry time of 21 seconds, making it normal and on the very edge of the high side of normal. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in sample form, and I don't know, it's like a good example of why you should be buying samples. To keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at Clairefontaine. I get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, shade. It's super dark. It's got this purpley tone to it, and I see that purpley tone through all of the writing. So Midnight Blue is a little off for me, and it's off as a color the whole time I look at it. Extra fine, the exact same tone with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 15 seconds to dry. The medium, the exact same tone with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 20 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both it shows no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. Smear test, you could likely recover it if you did smear. Tomoe River. So we see at the top spots that are really starting to come through, but they're not through yet. But it is going deep into this page. So it didn't bleed, but it got very deep into the page in a couple of spots with the 1.1, not with the extra fine or the medium. The scrubby started to come through. I'm putting it on stupid thick. That doesn't really count. Of course, we have show through. It's Tomoe River. The 1.1, no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. It's dull here. It's just a dull looking color here. It's still that midnight purple. It's a dark blue purple. Extra fine, no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 21 seconds to dry. The medium has the exact same tone with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, and 30 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it, and the smear you don't get to recover when you smear stuff on Tomoe River. Rhodia, no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. It's just a boring to look at color, not boring good as in predictable. Well, although it is predictable, it is also boring bad as in I don't care for looking at it. But it is boring predictable, which is nice. The extra fine has the exact same tone with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 16 seconds to dry. You know, I have to say it because I really don't like this, but it is a good performing ink. It is well behaved. I just don't like the color. The way this is coming through. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 21 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. In the smear test, we could recover this. So I put this onto tracing paper just for giggles and grins. Why not? Look at that. It's bleeding through tracing paper on the 1.1, which I, get almost nothing that bleeds through this tracing paper. It does very, very well. Of course, we're going to have show through. You're supposed to see through tracing paper. The 1.1 at the top has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The exact same tone in the extra fine with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, and 9 seconds to dry. Again, the exact same tone in medium with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it, we didn't need it here. It's tracing paper. The smear test, you probably could recover if you smeared while writing with this. So this has a lot of qualities that are good. I just don't like the color. I don't know. Strathmore writing paper. Strathmore calligraphy paper. This is a laid paper. It has no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The extra fine is the exact same tone with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 12 seconds to dry. The medium has the exact same tone again with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, and 16 seconds to dry. Scrubby shows no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. In the smear test, you could not recover this. So G. Lalo, which, hey, some good news here. This paper's had a hard time finding ink that looked good on it. It has no bleeding and no ghosting. And this ink looks good on it. So there's that. Maybe because that sort of purpley gets washed out with the gray paper. The 1.1 is no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. Exact same tone with the extra fine with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, and 12 seconds to dry. Exact same tone into the medium. No feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 15 seconds to dry. Scrubby shows us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. And the smear test, you could read what you smeared while you were writing on that paper, and that is all that I have for the writing sample. Instead of finding inks that look like Noodler's Midnight Blue, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Now, I was looking for a nice dusty red tone, and I chose Birmingham Pen Company's Fred Rogers Cardigan Red. Beautiful together. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Noodler's Midnight Blue? As a blue-black, it seems a little more purple-black to me. A little bit of purple comes through in this writing, which we saw why in the chromatographies. Now, if you put this on with a broad wet nib, it does become a very blackish ink, which is kind of nice, but not for me. I'll pass on this ink. Not that it performs in any kind of bad way. It's not a color that speaks to me. However, it is neat that as a blue black, it's kind of purpley black, and that's pretty cool. Thanks for watching.